Valley. Families of 4 victims who perished in the deadly Air India Flight 171 crash in June has filed a lawsuit in the United States against aircraft manufacturer Boeing and aviation technology company Honeywell. Allegations, negligence and defective design in components critical to aircraft safety. The suit, reviewed by the media, claims that faulty fuel control switches were the decisive factor in the crash and argued that both firms failed to act despite long-standing awareness of risk posed by the design of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and its associated systems. The June tragedy unfolded when Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787 bound for London Gatwick, crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad, killing all 260 people on board as well as 19 people on the ground. Among the dead were 229 passengers and 12 crew members. Preliminary findings from India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau pointed to the inadvertent cut-off of the fuel supply to the engines within seconds of takeoff, leading to an immediate and total loss of thrust. Central to the case are the aircraft's fuel control switches. Investigators reported that one of those switches had been moved from the run position to cut off, a small but critical change that stopped fuel flow to the engines. The family's lawsuit characterizes this as a design defect, stating that the mechanism allowed for an accidental movement capable of shutting down thrust at the most crucial phase of flight. The filing cites a 2018 advisory issued by the U.S. Federation's Aviation Administration, which encouraged airlines to check the locking mechanism on the switches to ensure they could not be accidentally moved. However, the advisory was not mandatory, leaving it up to the airlines whether to conduct the inspections. Now, according to the plaintiffs, neither Boeing nor Honeywell took concrete steps to correct or mitigate the risk, nor did they supply replacement parts to operators. What did Honeywell and Boeing do to prevent the inevitable cassette drop? Nothing. The lawsuit states accusing both firms of sitting idly behind a non-binding advisory while failing to warn airlines about the potential dangers. Now, while the FAA has publicly maintained the Boeing's fuel control switches are safe, the families argue that the manufacturer's inaction and resilience on voluntary compliance amounted to negligence. They contend that the tragedy could have been prevented had the companies proactively redesigned the switches, mandated checks, or issued more urgent warnings. Boeing declined to comment directly on these allegations and the case, instead referring to the AAIB's preliminary report. Honeywell has also not issued a public statement so far. The victim's family, represented by Texas-based Lanier law firm, are seeking accountability in U.S. court, a move that underscores the international legal ramifications of major aviation disasters. A full and detailed investigation report by India's AAIB is expected in 2026, which may shed further light onto the causes and potential liabilities. The case has already stirred debate within the aviation sector about the adequacy of advisories, the responsibility of manufacturers in proactively addressing design flaws, and the balance between regulatory recommendations and binding safety mandates. For the families, however, the matter deeply remains personal. Beyond compensation, their legal action represents an effort to ensure that future passengers do not fall victim to what they argue were preventable oversights. That's all for now in this update. Stay tuned to the Savera. Download the app. Follow us on various social media platforms. बच्चा क्यों बंद हुई हैं?
मैं अब पे देख कैसे